So here's the second part of the country shape series. In the first video, we discussed the narrowest, widest, roundest, squarest, and weirdest shaped countries in the world. If you haven't checked that one out, make sure to do so. However, in this episode, we'll be looking at different topics including the highest, lowest, furthest, and most triangular countries in the world, starting with the highest. But first, let me explain what I mean with the highest countries. I don't mean high on the map or countries with the most skyscrapers. Countries I'm talking about are home to the highest average meters above sea level, or the average elevation of a country. While some countries are almost completely made out of forests like Suriname with 98% and Guyana with 94%, others are almost completely made out of desert like Mauritania, Algeria, Libya, Egypt and Saudi Arabia, Oman and the United Arab Emirates. And then there are countries that are literally one long big mountain range. Asia is a true definition of the mountain powers, with the top 3 countries having the highest percentage of mountainous area. Kyrgyzstan with 90.7%, Tajikistan with 91.9%, and the best of the best, Bhutan with 98.8% of their area. Other countries with high percentages are Lesotho, Armenia, and Switzerland. North Macedonia and Montenegro making the European continent proud with an average percentage of 83 to 90%. However, although most of these mountainous nations are also home to the highest elevation, there are some exceptions on the list. You see, you could have a 100% of mountains, but if they're only 10 meters high, you're never even coming close to the top spots. And so the list of elevation looks a bit different, with at the 10th place the mighty China. The average elevation of China is 1,839 meters above sea level. The country's landscape is characterized by high altitudes, with Mount Everest, the world's tallest peak above sea level, located on the Sino-Nepal border. China's average elevation above sea level is 1,840 meters. The lowest elevation is -2 meters, while the highest elevation is 7,552 meters. At the 9th place, Chile, an average elevation of 1,871 meters above sea level. The Andes have peaks that rise 15,000 or 4,572 meters above sea level on average. Then the 8th, 7th, and 6th places are for Afghanistan with 1,883 meters, Andorra with 1,996 meters, and Lesotho with 2,161 meters above sea level. Now the 5th place is not really a country, but it is a surprising one, Antarctica with an elevation of 2,299 meters. Though not a country but rather a continent, Antarctica's name deserves to be mentioned on this list. It is the world's tallest continent, with an average elevation of 7,545 feet above sea level. Mount Vinson, which stands at 6,050 feet, is Antarctica's tallest mountain peak. Did you know this? At the 4th place, we find Kyrgyzstan with an average elevation of 2,988 meters. The Tian Shan Pamir mountain ranges cover around 65% of the country's land area. The region also has enormous glaciers, the largest of which is the Engelchik Glacier. Then at 3rd place is Tajikistan with 3,186 meters. Then comes Nepal with 3,266 meters. The country's terrain is diversified, with the flat Jiangding River plain to the south, a hilly center region, and a mountainous northern portion. The latter is dominated by some of the highest peaks on the planet, including Mount Everest, 29,035 feet or 8,850 meters, the world's tallest peak. And then finally at the 1st place, Bhutan with 3,279 meters and just slightly higher than Nepal. The northern parts of Bhutan are dominated by tall, steep peaks of the Greater Himalayas, with the highest point in the country being the Gangkhar Pensum. Many consider this mountain, which has a peak elevation of 24,840 feet above sea level, to be the tallest unclimbed mountain in the world. The lowest. We've had the highest, so let's move on to the lowest now. And these countries might already be familiar with you, so let's keep it a bit simple. The top 10 countries are Trinidad and Tobago with 83 meters, Guinea-Bissau with 70 meters, Senegal with 69 meters, Estonia with 61 meters, at the 6th place the Gambia with 34 meters, then Denmark with 34 meters, the Netherlands with 30 meters above sea level, Qatar with 28 meters, Kiribati with 1.9 meters, and the 1st place is the Maldives with 1.8 meters above sea level. However, how big is the risk of losing these countries to rising sea levels? The answer is simple: high. Rising sea levels are anticipated to have a significant impact on practically everyone who lives on a Pacific island. Around 3 million Pacific Islanders live within 6.2 miles, 10 kilometers of the coast, and may need to evacuate by the end of the century. China has the most population who could be affected by sea level rise, with 43 million people living in vulnerable coastal areas. Other countries that'll suffer big challenges as a result of increasing sea levels include Bangladesh, where 32 million people will be at risk by 2100, and India with 27 million. While no country is projected to be eaten by 2100, numerous big towns face rapid flooding. Jakarta, Indonesia's capital, is one of the most visible examples of rising sea levels producing serious real-world problems. Jakarta, which has a population of roughly 10 million people, has been branded the fastest sinking city in the world by the BBC, sinking by 2 to 4 inches, 5 to 10 centimeters every year. However, this is not the only city in danger. Dhaka, Bangladesh, population 22.4 million, Lagos, Nigeria, population 15.3 million, and Bangkok, Thailand, population 9 million, may all be completely drowned or have significant swaths of land underwater and uninhabitable by 2100. The Netherlands, however, are prepared. With the best water management in the world, they are not seen as a risky country to the rising sea levels. After one of the worst disasters in the Netherlands in 1953, where a flood was the cause of death for 1,836 people and thousands of animals, people literally sat on their houses to be saved. Since then, they took severe measures, and now they're even helping the rest of the world. Furthest. Now, from a serious and shocking topic, we're going slightly more to the fun side. Which country is the furthest? Furthest from what? Let's start with the furthest countries from the center of all continents. Null Island, an artificial island used by scientists as a reference, is located at 0 degrees north, 0 degrees east, the center of the Earth. However, Ghana in Africa is the closest geographical area to the Earth's center, with its most southern tip Cape 3 Points. And it seems that contenders are Chile and New Zealand. Now, the highest latitude possible is 90 degrees, which is the latitude of the North and South Poles, 90 degrees north and 90 degrees south. And with this, we can conclude that it should be a country closest to either the North Pole or the South Pole. Now, there's actually a website to make it really simple. You can use 2 of the markers, and at first it looks like Canada or Greenland is the furthest away. But when after placing a marker on New Zealand, we can conclude they're probably the furthest away, with almost 16,000 kilometers far from the imaginary Null Island. New Zealand also seems to be the furthest place away from any country. The shortest distance between New Zealand and any other country is a little more than 700 kilometers, between an uninhabited subantarctic island in New Zealand and an uninhabited subantarctic island in Australia. The shortest distance between inhabited areas is from the northernmost tip of New Zealand's North Island to Norfolk Island, an Australian overseas territory with a population of 3,000 people. The shortest distance to somewhere with a population of more than 5,000 is 1,400 kilometers to Nomia, in the French overseas region of New Caledonia. But maybe more interesting, what countries in the world are the furthest away from each other? Some people are mistaken distance between countries like Canada and New Zealand. Because although it seems really far away from each other on the map, we shouldn't forget that the Earth is round. So what is the most distance between 2 nations? And it appears that 3 places are quite far away. Swanka, Ecuador to Subjangaya, Malaysia, 19,989 kilometers, 12,421 miles. Luan, China to Raquarto, Argentina, 19,994 kilometers, 12,424 miles. The distance between Shanghai, China to Concordia, Argentina is 19,984 kilometers, 12,417 miles. As a result, the countries with the greatest distance between them are undoubtedly Argentina and China, which are just under 20,000 kilometers apart. Most triangular. Now, to be honest, there are no such things as triangular countries in the world. In the first episode, we discussed the roundest and the squarest countries. There are some countries that were mathematically certain one of the roundest, like the Vatican or Nauru. However, looking at its shape, we decided not to go with it. It just doesn't look round. However, with there not being any real triangular countries, we unfortunately do need to go with the mathematical reasons for being the most triangular. And so let's get on with the list. On this map, you can see they drew a triangle on the country. Now the country closest to the triangle wins. There are many countries that are close, but the 3 best are Namibia at 3rd place with a score of .907920, Bosnia and Herzegovina with 0.913202, which was just behind the most triangular country in the world, Nicaragua, with a score of .918672. So this was the second part of the Unique Country Shape and Dimension series. Now I got a question for you guys. Would you like me to explain these kind of off topics in separate videos, or do you like it this way? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious about your opinion. And also don't forget to like the videos if you love these kinds of videos, and do consider subscribing for more content like this. Anyway, thank you for watching, and as always, see you in the next of Earth Basics.